Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 4, Himatsubushi. So, last time we saw a little bit of scenes from Toshiki's perspective, right? He was trying to bait them, fake it so he can escape, right? And then Uishi-san and Akasaka-kun or Akasaka-chan, Akasaka, they were heading to Tetsudo. What was the name again? Tatsudo. I forgot its name, but yeah, Takatsudo. Yes, Takatsudo. They're heading there, and they went through Hinamizawa, right? But yeah, there were a lot of things happening there. So I guess this episode we're gonna see maybe action, them trying to rescue Toshiki. So let's see what's gonna happen. If you were to call Hinamizawa a rather lonely village, then Takatsudo was outright desolate. For your everyday city boy like me, I just couldn't understand why anybody would force themselves to live here. There were signs that people had, but they were all covered in dust or enveloped in ivy, indicating that it was all abandoned.
こんなところにも人は住んでいたんですね。
まあ、昔の話でしょうな。
I mean, if people have no choice, if this is their home, of course they'll live here. They're gonna live here.
こんな偏僻なとこじゃ年寄りには辛いですし、若者だってもう少しまともな土地に住みたいでしょうしね。後を継ぐ者がいなきゃ最後にはこうなるってことでしょうな。
Even if I had no personal attachment to the village, seeing the disused buildings made me feel a little sentimental. It seemed that Uishi also felt the same.
こんなところで財布が発見されたんですか。財布の取得者もよくこんなに偏僻なところに通りかかったものですね。
ああ、村人には山の中に畑を持ってる連中がいましてね。そういう連中は朝晩ここを通りますから。
畑仕事の村人たちは早朝や夕方にここを徒歩で通ると。
まさか。行けるところまでは車で行くでしょうな。
早朝や夕方にこんなところを走行して落ちているたった一つの財布を発見できます。
できたんでしょうな。
They were like, "Oh, a wallet! Look at it."
取得者はどこで取得したと言っていますか。
もう少し先を行ったところにある茂みです。取得者はたまたまお腹が痛くなってちょいと茂みで用を足そうと思ったらしい。それで偶然見つけたらしいんですよ。中にちり紙でも入ってるのを期待したんですかね。
話ができすぎているように感じます。財布発見の当初からそういう違和感が拭えません。
I expressed the feeling that I had from the start of the day quite frankly. It seemed too good to be true, but it was unwavering proof. But it was too perfect, sickeningly so. That was my feeling.
できすぎってな、案外当たってるかもしれませんよ。
というと。
実は四課のお友達からちょいと聞いたんですがね。園崎お涼が大臣の孫の誘拐事件について言及したって話なんです。
言及した？
大臣の孫ももう誘拐されてから何日にもなってかわいそうだ。そろそろ解放されるといいなと。そう、お涼のばあさんが縁側でぼそりとつぶやいたってな話らしいんです。で、そのぼそりが園崎家の裏の裏のあちこちに伝えられてるようです。
Right, I had heard something earlier from Sato-san, the informant, that when the leader Oreo had a concern, somebody in the family would be considerate.
つまりそれは実質上の人質解放命令ですか。
Probably.
私はそう見てます。この出来すぎの財布発見は 孫を警察に引き渡すためのイベントじゃないかと。
どうして人質の解放を？
そりゃ人質を解放するなんて理由は一つしかないじゃないですか。
何です？
取引の成立ですよ。ひなみ沢ダム計画の中止を大臣が約束ってことですかね。
ダム計画なんて必ずなくなっちゃいますのです。
At the moment, the words of the little girl had resurfaced in the back of my head. In the end, it was turning out exactly as she proclaimed. That a young girl knew the circumstances. She knew everything about the kidnapping incidents from the beginning to the end.
Akasaka?
The girl unexpectedly called my name.
なんだい？
東京へ帰れ。
Hmm?
あなたはもう幾ばくもしないうちにこの村に来たことをひどく後悔することになる。それがあまりにもみすぼらしくて気の毒な姿だから。
I really want to learn more of this.
今のうちから警告してあげているのです。
Please give us a hint by the end of this chapter. Yes.
どうして私が後悔することになると？
いちいちうるさいな。あなたの親はあなたが赤信号の横断歩道の真ん中にいるとき、どうして危ないのかを全部説明し終えるまであなたの手を引っ張らないの？引っ張るでしょ。
Okay.
まず歩道まで連れ戻してからなぜ危険なのかを解くでしょう。つまりはそういうこと。
The girl knew everything from start to finish, had warned me in the beginning to go back to Tokyo.
赤坂の怖がり。
Like even the eyes, look at the eyes.
孫は無事見つかるでしょうが、その後はいろいろと厄介な問題になるでしょうな。どう厄介になるかは一警察官の私には想像もつきませんがね。
フルでリカって少女ご存知ですか？
What I had said was such a non sequitur that Oishi sat stunned in silence for a while.
もちろん知ってますよ。御三家の一つ、古出家の一人娘ですね。
どういう少女なんです？
おやおや、こりゃ意外な人物名にちょっと驚きです。公安では古出家が臭いと睨んでおられるわけで、私にも情報を分けてくださいよ。
あ、いや、そういうのじゃないんです。ちょっと気になったもので。
まあいいや。同じ卓を囲んだ友人の質問なら答えないわけにゃいきませんからね。
友人と呼んでいただけて光栄です。
で、あのお嬢ちゃんはね、まあ村のマスコットみたいなもんです。村中の誰からも愛されてます。中でも年寄り連中には特に崇められてましてね。
崇められる？
よくは知らないんですがね。古出家に生まれた女の子ってのには多少神聖な意味合いがあるらしいんですよ。ひなみ沢の土着信仰ですがね。お社様の生まれ変わりだとかなんとか、そんな話があるらしいですよ。
お社様。そういえば同盟の登り旗の中にお社様と書かれたものがあったような気がします。何ですか、お社様って？
ああ、 ひなみ沢の守り神様の名前です。村にあだなす者に罰を当てるって信じられてましてね。まあ、そんな便利な神様がいたら、ダムの連中はとっくに神罰にやられているんでしょうが。幸い、今日までその罰ってやつは一つも起こってませんがね。
村にあだなす大臣の孫が、お社様の怒りに触れ、なんて言いましたっけ。そう、鬼隠し。
He got Onikakashi'd.
大臣の孫を鬼隠しにしたと。そういう筋書きになるわけでしょうか。
How the script.
なるほどな。そういうことになるんでしょうな。
お社様が下した神罰。なら、犯人はお社様の生まれ変わりである、あの少女。
Even I didn't know exactly what I was saying. The fact that Oishi laughed it off was a bit of a relief. Oishi's joyous laughter was so infectious that I began to laugh like an idiot as well.
ありゃ、こりゃ珍しい。
Oishi, after laying it into the horn several times, rolled the window down and leaned out, waving his arm in an exaggerated manner. It was a car headed the opposite way. Up until now, we hadn't run into any other cars except our own. And all of the places it was at this desolate location. True. Maybe it's what's called this Irie, right? It seemed that Oishi knew the owner of the car. The other car also chirped its horn and came to a stop. Okay, it's Irie.
入江野先生、
It is him.
こんにちは。
The other car's window rolled down slowly, revealing a young man in a white overcoat. He was about my age or perhaps a bit older. But you can't really judge somehow by or somebody with their appearance.
大石さんじゃありませんか。こんにちは。珍しいところでお会いしますね。
そりゃこっちのセリフですよ、先生。まさかこんなところで会うとはね。どうしたんです？
いえね、ちょっとした往診です。
ありゃ、そうですか。休館とかでしたか。
いえ、そんなに大したことではありませんでした。よかったですよ。
お医者の世話にならずに済むなら、それに越したことはないです。
ではこれで。急いで戻らないとスタッフに怒られますんで。
診療所長さんも大変です。ではでは、お気をつけて。
The young doctor named Irie, gesturing his farewell, drove forwards and soon disappeared around a corner. Oishi also drove forwards, but soon came to a stop yet again. He pulled up a worn map book from the dash. His expression didn't have an ounce of irreverence. He was perfectly serious.
どうしたんです？
今日は診療所は往診の日じゃないはずです。よっぽどの休館か、特殊な事情のある患者ということになりますね。
Uishi flipped through the pages, opening up the map to Takatsudo. After that, he took a look around and started to figure out what our current location was.
その休館が怪しいということですか？
言ったでしょう。高津戸地区にね、住んでる人なんてほとんどいないんですよ。今私たちがいる道はここ。入江先生はこの道に対してこっちの方向から走ってきた。
Having no sense of our surroundings, I couldn't digest anything about the place he was indicating on the map.
私たちは財布の取得場所を目指しています。 ちなみに取得場所はここでもね、高津戸地区にわずかにある民家に向かうにはそもそも道が違うんです。
つまり入江医師は民家のない方角から来たと。
山間の段々畑で農作業中に誰かが倒れたってのでない限りね。人が倒れて医者が呼ばれたら普通は連れ帰って詳しく調べるもんです。でもさっき理恵医師は大したことはなかったと言いましたね。車には他には誰も乗っていなかったようですし。
Ooshi didn't say any more than that. I also said nothing more. That doctor just now examined a patient. Close by. Only that, the noisy radio had suddenly gone quiet. The sky had just suddenly turned an oppressive color. As Ooshi mused that it might start to rain, a torrential downpour started as though trying not to disappoint him. Eventually, Ooshi stopped the car. The only sounds to break the silence were the percussion of the rain on the roof and the soft squeak of the windshield wipers.
ちょいと静かで行きましょうかね。
Why is it raining, man? Of all the time, why is it raining now? Saying that in a quiet voice, he exited the car without an umbrella, careful not to make any noise. Ooshi leaned over, indicating the other side of the thicket. He was pointing to a prefabricated shed and a car that was parked beside it. The car looked obviously well cared for. It wasn't a vehicle that had been left there for several years.
あの小屋は
営林署の機材小屋です。
Forestry service.
夏場以外は利用されてないと聞きました。
あの車は営林署の職員の。
さあね。公用車には見えないですね。
Ooshi was playing it cool, but my nervousness was gradually increasing.
一応は念のため。
Saying that, Ooshi returned to the car. I thought he was going to get an umbrella, but he had grabbed the onboard radio instead.
もしもし、大石です。聞こえてるかな？こんにちは、こんにちは。
はい、沖宮 PS。大石さん、感度良好です。どうぞ。
今、高津戸地区の営林署機材小屋前です。矢後地に向かう方じゃないよ。南沢から高津戸に入る方の。
はい、確認しました。
小屋に不審者。これより職質します。5分で連絡なかったら駐在所に連絡と大至急応援パトを送ってください。よろしくお願いします。
了解しました。
じゃあ行ってみましょうかね。
Since he was first confined here, he had heard the sound of a car multiple times. So he just thought that the far-off sound was more of the same. However, the reaction from his captors was, until now, something he hadn't seen before. They jumped, reacting as if shocked by a jolt of electricity and pressed against the window, cautiously peering outside.
止まったな。
営林署の人間まずいぜ。
いや、警察やんな。
One of the captors lifted the boy by his collar and pressed the blade against his cheek.
お兄ちゃん、ちょい静かにしててな。分かってると思うけど、大声出したりすると大変なことになるからな。
Toshiki Inukai was sure that the doctor had reported things to the police. He had felt the relief when he thought that he was saved, but not imagining that his captors would resort to violence when they were cornered, his anxiety remained unabated.
どうする？
時間稼いでる。小僧連れてちょい裏から抜けな。 ほとぼり冷めたら打ち合おう。
One of the perpetrators grabbed the boy by the collar and forced him to stand. Of course, Toshiki Inukai tried to resist by feigning that his illness had been aggravated by this rough treatment, but his captors paid no heed. Bang, bang, bang! The door was violently banged upon.
ごめんください。こんにちは。
The door was banged on again. Toshiki Inukai hesitated for a moment to respond to that voice by yelling. However, while he was being indecisive, his mouth was covered, taking that option from him. The leader of the captors waved at the other to go. The younger perpetrator nodded in response and, while keeping the boy's mouth covered, heading towards the back door.
はいはい。何かご用かいね。
どうも。警察ですがね。ここちょっと開けてもらっていいですか。急な雨で困っちゃいましてね。
ええ。今開けます。
The moment the lock was undone, Ooshi forced the door open. And with a gleam of menace in his eyes, he pushed the man aside as he stepped into the room. Then in the small and empty room, he was able to quickly discern that the boy he was looking for was nowhere to be seen.
あれ？私はここは営林署の機材倉庫だって聞いてたんですけどね。何にもありませんね。
There was nothing inside the room that would indicate that this was an equipment shed. There was only a mountain of blankets indicating that somebody was sleeping here alongside empty pockets of strewn about, or empty food pockets.
ああ。ここはずいぶん前から空っぽさね。機材がしまってあるところなんて見たこともねえわ。
でも営林署の建物でしょ。あんた営林署の人。
あんたこそ誰よ。警察？
How about yeah, you? The two of them glared at each other suspiciously. Both Ooshi and the man steadfastly refused to reveal their identity before the other did. The man, judging from the sharp look in Ooishi's eyes, realized that it would be hard to talk his way out of this one. No matter what he said, the most time he could buy would probably be only a few dozen seconds. Only the sound of rain filled this tense moment. Just then, they heard the sound of a struggle from far off. Ooshi had a hunch. There was no doubt that Akasaka, who was circling around back, had run into the perpetrators who were trying to slip by. Okay, here we go. It's action time. As Ooshi thought that the man in front of him reacted a moment faster. The man swung with an attack that was more intended to obscure Ooishi's vision rather than actually hit him in the face. Seizing his opportunity, the man aimed a kick at Ooishi's groin without any hesitation. But he missed his mark and was unable to land that critical blow. The man, trying to pin Ooshi, grabbed him by the base of his neck with both hands and fiercely tried to push him down. But Ooshi fell backwards, as if kicking the man upward, he dug his foot into the man's midsection. With that leg acting as a fulcrum, the man was flung by the falling Ooshi as if by a circle throw. The two of them squared off in the pouring rain.
面白いじゃないの。俺とやろうってか。ね。
Ooshi, as if trying to cheer himself on, grinned smugly. He then stood up while brushing the mud off himself. Even though he countered the assault, Ooshi was getting up rather awkwardly compared to the man who swiftly sprang to his feet. Akasaka's voice rang out from the distance. Judging from the distress in his voice, he was already engaged in a fight and wanted Ooshi to reconvene with him. But Ooishi's hands were full as well.
赤坂さん、申し訳ない。 ちょっと待っててくださいよ。
The man raised both his fists into a stance that hinted at him being acquainted with karate or some other form of martial art. Of course, Ooshi, as an officer of the law, was decently versed in judo. He also had the moxie to have been through his fair share of fights before. Ooshi is really helpful this chapter, right? Because of that, he could tell that the man in front of him was quite a bit better at fighting than he was. Damn it. Thinking of that, was this going to be easy just because the order came from the Sonozaki family to risk the hostage had been a big mistake.
なかなか上等じゃないの。久々に胃液が込み上げてくる感じがしますよ。
Ooshi played off the situation like it was no sweat. His opponent, seeing his attitude, took that to mean that Ooshi wasn't going to go down that easily. The man wildly charged forward, attempting to grab Ooshi. If the man managed a successful clinch from his low stance, Ooshi would be tackled to the ground and end up being mounted. It was something you saw often when children fought, but it really was a bad position since you couldn't do much once you were in it. Ooshi, responding to that move, also lowered his stance to collide with the man head-on. The moment they clashed, Ooshi grabbed the man's lapel. As he yanked the lapel upwards, he smashed into the man's solar plexus with the elbow of the same arm. It was a move from Uishi's own personal brand of brawling judo. He then grabbed on with his free hand and then attempted to throw his opponent with both hands. But the man lowered his center of gravity and swung his arms in a large arc, entwining them with Uishi's. Not only that, but he had forced both Uishi's elbows to the outside, and Ooshi, now in an awkward position, was in danger of exposing his back with his hands still clutching the man's chest. This guy practiced Aikido or grappling, didn't he? Ooshi, cursing the fact that his fingers were twisted into the man's shirt and it couldn't get away, released his grip. But he was still in the awkward position of being bent over. And to top it off, at zero range, the man was able to read Uishi's movements completely as he tried to squirm his way into a better position. And then took the palms of his hands and swiftly clapped them over both of Uishi's ears. I was gonna say over Uishi's cheeks. Clapping the ears in any other martial art except for self-defense was basically forbidden. Yeah, if you clap them on the ears, dude, that person will be disoriented. Karate and Judo didn't recognize it as a legal technique. But in this situation, you need to win, so yeah, you gotta do everything, right? It was not much of a simple and dangerous attack. Ooshi raised both his hands as he tried to reflexively clutch at his own ears. But before that could happen, the man wrapped his arms around Uishi's neck. His thick biceps clenched firmly around the base of Uishi's neck like a vice. Ooshi instinctively thought he was going to be killed. After all, it wasn't hard to believe that a man like this, who was accustomed to fighting, could crush his opponent's neck from this position. But his opponent didn't do that. He had chosen to keep his hold and force Ooshi to lose consciousness. That's why Ooshi at that moment, even though his face was twitching, was grinning widely. Even though his opponent had a chance to kill him, he didn't choose to. He was thinking, this guy has no intention of killing me. However, even though that might be the case, the man hold on his neck was by no means gentle. In no time at all, Uishi's consciousness began to fade. Having the experience of being taken down countless times in judo, during his student days, Ooshi was utterly resigned to the fact that it was over. By the way, it's raining in this game, right? And I've heard, like, outside my house, it's raining very loud. You can hear the rain. Akasaka was finally recovering from the intense pain of being kicked in a rather sensitive area. He had bumped into the captor carrying the boy by the back entrance. He had seen Toshiki Inukai's picture plenty of times but was unable to immediately discern or ascertain if the boy in front of him was the real deal. Also, with his limited experience, it wasn't hard for him to panic over how to deal with the situation. Of course, the perpetrator didn't overlook this momentarily lapse. His kick landed squarely in a critical spot with Akasaka not even having time to call for help. As the man flung the boy over his shoulder, he headed towards the front of the shed. But upon hearing Oishi's bellowing voice, he gave up on going that direction. He then dashed off towards the forest, as if the weight of the boy slung over his shoulder wasn't even there. Akasaka was lost for a moment. Meeting up with Ooshi, who was fighting with the enemy, was by far the safer option. But he couldn't just lose sight of the fleeing man. Akasaka stood up and chased after the captor's back. He ran through a short thicket of branches and fallen leaves crunching underfoot. The tips of the branches raked and clawed at him, small scratches inscribing himself on his body one after the other. He kept on stepping into puddles and mud, and his shoes were soon filled with murky water. For Akasaka, traveling through this unexplored forest was even though this was an emergency situation, extremely unpleasant. As he said that, he regretted it immediately as it was but a waste of breath. There wasn't a thief in the world that would politely stop when told to by the police. True though, yeah. Which idiot is gonna stop if the cops say stop? Unless you're cornered. To a city boy like Akasaka, running through this forest was an arduous task. However, it must have been no easy task either for the man carrying the minister's grandson. He neither gained nor lost ground in his pursuit. Akasaka, upon realizing that, gained back a bit of composure. Just keep on chasing him. We are running in the same condition. In fact, the man running with an awkward stride was at a far more of a disadvantage. They couldn't run forever. Eventually, he'd definitely trip and fall. As long as he was being hounded, he would definitely stumble. And soon his wish was fulfilled. The man who had stepped in something and lost his balance was no longer able to bear the weight of the boy dropping him. Akasaka, in all honesty, didn't care about the perpetrator at all. Just as long as he could ensure the safety as Toshiki Inukai. So if the perpetrator ran off by himself, it was perfectly acceptable. But it seemed that Toshiki Inukai was important to the man as well, and it didn't choose to just run away empty-handed. Akasaka didn't know what to do in this kind of situation. His first priority should be probably to ensure the safety of the boy, subduing his captor being less important. Grappling with the perpetrator wasn't something he planned on, but most likely it was either do or die. Akasaka's moment of indecision proved to be fatal. The man aiming right between or rather for both of Akasaka's eyes struck out with a jab. Not wanting that, Akasaka raised both his hands to shield his face at the moment the man kicked at his unguarded midsection. The pain almost felt like his vital organs were being squeezed out of his body, but he latched onto his opponent's leg. But his opponent didn't hesitate one bit. Leading with his seized foot, the man jumped at Akasaka, applying pressure and pushing him down. Akasaka was unable to withstand that and fell, but under no circumstances was he letting that leg go. Okay, sorry, I accidentally clicked it. What did he say? The man was desperate to pull his leg free from Akasaka, but having fallen in an awkward position was unable to. The two of them rolled around on the ground, floundering about, trying to gain an advantage. But Akasaka, who was holding onto his opponent's knee with both hands, and that opponent, who had complete freedom to move his upper body, were in two completely different situations. The man gained a positional advantage on Akasaka, who was still latched onto his leg, and couldn't move away, and pounded full force on his head with both his fists. Not only that, he found a rock nearby and beat it against Akasaka's skull. Dude, what is happening? He's losing. Twack, twack, twack. The difference between being hit with a fist and being hit with a rock was vast. Akasaka quickly thought of letting go of the man's leg to free his hands to protect his head. But if he let go, the man would get away. If he didn't dig in here, everything would be for naught. The boy he was trying to save was right there. He was going to save him and go back to Tokyo. If he could do that, then it was goodbye to this freakish village. Bam, crack, and thud. Without looking, I could tell my forehead had split open and was gushing blood. But I didn't let go of the man's leg. How could I? I won't let go. When the man realized that, no matter how much he beat my head, he wasn't getting away. He used both his hands to grab my throat as if to crush my windpipe. I pulled my head back, a slight form of resistance, but it was no use. The man's hands enveloped my neck and began to crush it like a vice. It was less about the pain of not being able to breathe, so much as it was choking so hard, I felt like I was going to throw up. I felt like my stomach was going to turn itself inside out, but I could only endure it. God damn it, damn it. My throat, it hurts. I won't let go. I can't let go. I didn't want to be here. I wanted to resolve this and go back to Tokyo. Go back to Tokyo and talk to Yukie all about her unborn child. I had no intention of loosening my grip. However, it loosened just a bit and the man's leg came free. The man kicked as hard as possible and I tumbled backwards. My head was spinning and I was unable to get up right away. No, I couldn't even put any strength into getting up in the first place. Even so, I couldn't back down. If I let him escape now, this chance would never come again. Even just catching their scent was nothing short of a miracle. If we weren't able to get the minister's grandson back here, there wouldn't be another chance. The man tried to drag the boy to his feet, but the kid was displaying some unexpected resistance, allowing me to get up unnoticed. I grasped the rock the man had just beat me over with. Now it's my turn. My turn! The rock should be able to supplement what meager strength I had left, adding more than enough power to my attack. My fist still wrapped around the rock, dug into the side of the man's torso. It seems like it hurt him quite a bit. The man rolled around for a bit, clutching his side. Freed from the man's grip, the boy hid behind me.
Inukai Toshiki-kunだね。君を助けに来た。
The boy whose words, or those words, he was waiting for the most. But the crisis was still not over. That was because, even though he was still clutching at his side, the man had gotten up again and had taken a fighting stance. I could see in the man's eyes the resentment at the pain I'd caused him and the confidence that he could still beat me. If we were to clash again or head on, he might not even stop if my head were split open.
これ以上抵抗するな。おとなしく降参しろ。てめえこそ小僧をこっちへよこすんだ。首の骨をへし折られていか。誰が貴様の言いなりになどなるものか。もうじき応援が到着する。貴様らに逃げ場などない。
The man reacted adversely to the word reinforcements. That was because he now knew that arguing like this wasn't just a waste of time, but put him closer and closer to danger. Realizing that, the man shifted mental gears almost so quickly.
なら手っ取り早く済ませるぜ。こいつならどうだよ。
What the man pulled from his back pocket was all of things a gun. Run! Of course, I'm a police officer. It's not like I don't know what a gun is. but having one pointed at me was something I've never experienced before. Was it real? Of course it was. There was no way it'd be a replica in a situation like this. True.
おとなしく両手を頭の上で組んでそこにうつ伏せになるんだよ。図に乗るな悪党。誰がお前に従うか。クソバカが。撃たれなきゃこいつの恐ろしさがわからねえかよ。なら撃ってみろ。貴様の銃声で応援がここに駆けつけるぞ。バカが。森の中でしかもこの雨だぞ。銃声などかき消える。
As long as he still held the gun, no matter how much I yelled at him, I was at a distinct disadvantage. But I still had a fighting chance. If I were in his shoes, instead of wasting time yelling at each other like this, I would just shoot him and take the boy. That was the fastest and would suppress any sort of further resistance from him. But the man was demanding my surrender without having fired a shot, meaning that he either didn't want to shoot or couldn't. In other words, the man in front of me was soft. If I could buy even just a little more time, the factors that would lead to my victory were numerous. Ooshi was probably on his way, and the reinforcements we called for before coming here should already be well on their way too. Not only that, they should have contracted the local police box. Without a doubt, somebody stationed in the village would be here much quicker than that.
クソ誰が。撃たれなきゃこいつの怖さがわからねえかよ。どうせ逃げられやしない。無駄に罪を重ねるな。
At the moment, I heard a rustling of foliage and heavy footsteps approaching. If Ooshi was coming here, it was a whole new ballgame. The man couldn't have more than one gun.
おいさん、ここです。ここです。
I had thought that time was on my side, but I had failed to even imagine that the enemy could also have reinforcements. There's such chaos in this episode. You could tell the man who had just appeared was one of the perpetrators just by looking at him.
何しよってんだ。はよせんとな。警官来るんで。なん油うっとんしゃん。
くそ。おいさんはどうしたってんだ。
ああ、あんの樽男かい。
Yeah, he definitely died.
落としたったら泡吹いとんよ。
But yeah, with these characters, it's pretty much they're safe because we started in 1985, right? So Akasaka is alive. Ooshi we see in the other chapter, so yeah, he's okay. He's gonna be okay, I mean.
おいさんが。くそ。
The boy, sensitive to the impending danger, curled up behind my back. How could this be? Damn it.
期待してた相方は来ないってよ。ざまあねえぞ。観念するのはてめえの方だ。
As I backed up against a large tree while still protecting the boy, the second man also pulled out a gun.
2回しか言わねえ。頭抱えてそこにうつ伏せになるよ。
断る。
Bang! Who got shot? As I shouted in protest, blood erupted from my left shoulder. Oh, Akasaka got shot. It took a few moments to register that I had been shot because of the adrenaline. Compared to the ones from movies and TVs or TV dramas, the first actual gunshot I heard was simple and mundane. In fact, the sound was more akin to the small fireworks I used to buy from the small corner store as a kid. But there was no comparing the pain. But there was, it was a fear you knew only after you've been shot. The boy, in his confusion, tugged at my clothes, agitating the wound even further. I wanted to put on a bold face and reassure him, but my voice was hoarse and had the opposite effect.
大丈夫。すでに応援は要請してあるんだ。 すぐに警官隊が駆けつけてくれる。
警官が来る前にお前額にもっぱつくれちゃる方が早い。無駄な殺生すなっちゅう本家に言われとんか加減した。あんまりなめとんと容赦せんとよ。
This was bad, really bad. It was very, very bad. This second man was completely different, different beast from the first. He had no signs of indecisiveness or mercy. If this man said he'd shoot, he'd shoot. He wasn't somebody that a man like me could buy time from. I really hated to admit it, but at the moment, the image of Yuki's smiling face crossed the back of my mind. I knew what that meant. I was gonna die. I was warning myself to not throw my life away over a matter of pride. Of course, I didn't want to die here. I was just starting a new life with Yuki, and I wanted to see the face of our soon-to-be born child. Why should I risk my life for some minister's grandson when I was at such a critical juncture in my own life? God damn it, damn it. I need to stop rambling on myself. So what do I do now? Give up the boy and extend my own life? He's gonna kill you if you give up the boy. What was the point? What a good idea. Everybody's life is precious. My own life was in danger. Nobody would blame me. God damn it, it hurts. It really hurts. If I had known it would be this painful, I wouldn't have played a tough guy. My biggest miscalculation, though, was that the sound of the gunshot was far quieter than I had imagined. If it was only that loud, it would be drowned out by the rain in the forest. It wasn't something that somebody far away could hear.
くそ待てよ、待ってくれよ。死にたくないよ。
あんこっちだって死なせとうない。分かればええん、分かれば。
撃つなよ、撃つなよ。帰りを待ってる妻がいるんだ。死にたくないんだよ。
叫ばんとでも歌んね。おとなしゅう頭抱えてうつ伏せになったら歌んだるね。
本当だろうな、本当だろうな。約束は守れよ、絶対だぞ。男と男の約束だぞ。
守ったんだ。男と男の約束しやよ。
守れよ、守れよ。じゃあうつ伏せになるからな。
Did Akasaka lost?
なるからな。約束守るんだから銃を向けるのやめろよ。やっぱ撃つ気なんだろ、撃つ気なんだろ。俺が撃つついになったら後頭部を撃つ気なんだろ。
歌んね、歌んね。わーった。しまってる。銃はしまってる。男と男の約束しやねえ。どんなこれなら文句ないんて。
極めて文句ないですよ。
Okay, here comes Ooshi. He got comboed there. It was over in a flash. The moment he lowered the gun, Ooshi didn't let his chance slip by. Ooshi had been assessing the situation for quite some time from behind the two men. But since they had their guns trained on me, he didn't really have a chance to jump in. Seeing the look on Uishi's face indicating that he wanted me to create an opening, I took on that role completely. Ooshi forcefully lifted the arm that was holding the gun. He then took the gun from the man's hand in only an instant. The other man was a bit slow in grasping what was happening, pointed his gun at them, but with his ally grappling with Ooshi, he couldn't pull the trigger. If that man was the one that was wrestling with Ooshi at the moment, he might have shot without hesitation. But this man wouldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot. Ooshi kicked the man away and while aiming the stolen gun with his left hand, pulled out his own. With his gun akimbo, he was aiming at both men at the same time. Checkmate. It was perfectly played. But heedless of the guns pointed at them, the men shouted "Scram" as they scattered away at full speed. It was over in an instant. Those two running away without putting up a fight was honestly unexpected. Ooshi quietly clicked his tongue in admonishment, slipped both guns into his pants pockets.
あいつらもよく知ってるな。
何をですか？
逃げてる背中を警官は撃てませんからね。私も退職金が惜しいもんで。
Ooshi and I grinned at each other.
君が犬飼俊樹君？犬飼検察大臣のお孫さん？
はい。
こりゃでかい事件になるかな。どうせトカゲの尻尾切りになるんでしょうけどね。
Ooshi smiled amusedly. The fact that the Onigofuchi guardians, or rather the Sonozaki family behind them, was pulling the strings was apparent, but proving it wouldn't be easy. And with apologies to Ooshi, this incident was unlikely to go public. If this caused an uproar, it would obviously lead the minister losing his office. With HQ having decided that doing so was in the national interest, this would probably be cleaned up quietly. It might be a rough way of saying it, but this was born in the shadows and was going to die in the shadows. Ooshi probably already understood the implications behind this incident.
とにかく非常線を張らせましょう。連中まだ一丁は拳銃を持ってるようですからね。それから犬飼君を保護して赤坂さんはすぐに病院に行かないと。
As the tension in the situation faded, the pain from the gunshot wound in my shoulder blossomed once again. My forehead was also stinging painfully and had grown hot enough to start a fire. Thinking that the tension had caused me to sweat, I wiped my forehead, but what came off was a large amount of blood. I realized that my shirt had been stained bright crimson from the blood flowing from my head. I turned around. The boy was safe and sound. Without a doubt, there would probably be an investigation on the men who ran, but that was for another day. At this point, I could safely say we had cleared a major hurdle of securing the boy's safety. We did it. As soon as I recognized that, it felt like the lights in my head had been hit by the power failure. So yeah, it finally, what do you call this? All the things that happened, and then the adrenaline is wearing off. Now he's feeling it, right? My knees buckled from underneath the ground, and there was feeling as soft as a cloud. It didn't feel unpleasant, even as I was covered in the rain-soaked mud. Ooshi came closer, asking if I was okay, but somehow I couldn't tell. I turned off the switch to the last light in my head. And he's down. The exhaustion enveloped me. Sleep. Something softer than any blanket wrapped around me. Honestly, if you're fighting for your life, yeah, that adrenaline will keep you up. And when it finally calms down, all of it will... You'll feel it, all of it, and then you're just gonna pass out because of how tired you are. Yeah, that was intense though. A very kind person. Tips. Patients admitted to the hospital can only accept calls at fixed times. So who's this? This is Yukie. That's why she shouldn't be receiving a call from him today. Yesterday, she had teased him that he got lonely so easily, so he might have struggled with the idea of calling her sooner. That was much easier to imagine rather than he might just be too busy to call. Because of he's just the type of person, Yukie whispering that smiled to herself. The announcement that visiting hours were over played over the hospital's intercom along with some music. She exchanged pleasantries with the family of the patient that was staying in the same room as her. Probably eager for his mom to be discharged, their small child was wearing a beaming smile. The child's mother was pregnant in the bed next to mine with what may be their newborn brother or sister. They were probably ready to burst with expectations, dreams, and worries of having a new sibling. The joys of having or growing a family. Bathing in those warm feelings, I stroked my own belly, which had grown quite large. I had talked with him about how many children we wanted to have. We talked about how if we had three, it would certainly be lively. However, there was the inescapable worry of whether it would be able to, or I would be able to handle giving birth that many times.
でもそんなことを不安に思って出産を嫌う母なんていないですものね。
Yukie smiling as she said that to herself, gently stroked her stomach. The Metropolitan Public Safety Division. The place where that man's sense of justice had led him. That person was actually a very gentle, very fragile person. He didn't talk much about the specifics, but I didn't think he was suited for the assignment he was on right now. But as long as he said he was going to try his best, I would watch over him warmly.
あなたのお父さんはね、とっても頑張り屋さんなのよ。くちょこちょこちょこちょ。
Yukie seemed to be enjoying herself as she talked to her own belly. At the moment, Yukie suddenly became concerned about something and looked out the window. It used to be this time. Long ago. She remembered that when she was little, around this time, in the countryside where her grandma lived, the Higurashi would fill the air with their cars. This was the middle of Tokyo. Unlike in the countryside, you couldn't hear the song of the Higurashi. But for some reason at the moment, Yukie felt that she wanted to hear that song. Wait, that was it? Okay. That was it. So yeah, very, very chaotic episode today. Them, Oishi and Akasaka rescuing Toshiki, but they got him safely, right? So yeah, I mean, very intense. So I guess we'll just end our episode there, and we're gonna continue this and do more of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 4, Himatsubushi in the next one. Let's see what happens. Let's see how Akasaka recovers from all his fighting skills today, right? So we're gonna continue this, and I'm just gonna see you in the next one, guys. Bye-bye.